fine. It's fine.
But I did, I don't know. It's a good segue into the Purdue Illinois game.
Was it a good segue? It was probably the dirtiest, nasty word segue in the history of media. So?
Therapist? He's a therapist.
Yeah.
If anyone, if people really enjoy Celebrity Jeopardy, any of those titles, from an album cover, therapist.
Oh, there is one escaping me.
The pen is mightier.
Yeah, that's the one. Penis mightier. I heard you guys are selling penis mightiers.
You've lost your podium. No, so Purdue, Illinois. Okay.
Let's make this quick because we are so fucking behind this week. Because
we got an hour and change.
No, it's not about that. I'll pause it and restart it if we want to talk about something else. But I'm almost to the point where like we quit farting.
I'm so sorry, I moved my stool.
You need it. We need a sponsor for some studio equipment. We'll get there. Listen, I'm to the point where what is today? Friday. Game was Tuesday. Next game, and that's our bad, people. It's our bad. If you came here for Purdue content and want our analysis, deep dive of the Purdue game, you've been waiting 3 days, 4 days.
And luckily, this will be chopped. This will be you'd be able to jump in right now, like as if it never.
No,
happened.
you gotta go through cream cheese talk and rapist talk. I'm gonna make you say. I'm not here for the casuals. I'm here for the hardcore.
Yeah. Well, we gotta get some casuals before you get the hardcore.
Fuck them. Yeah. Fuck you casuals. Fuck you casuals. Go get an IU plate and drive like a dipshit. Casual. I want real ones.
Real ones. Well, we have real ones. We have real ones. No, I can't say where I work. I'm not going to, but I could. But I'm not going to. Shout out to those peeps. Shout out to Josh's peeps that watch this on the regular.
I told you before. I'll tell you again. I don't have friends.
Well.
So, yeah, let's make this quick with the review because I'm more interested in looking forward not only to Purdue's next game, but the schedule overall.
Yeah.
And let's do this on the fly here. Let's review this game.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Your thoughts.
We'll pause, get a quick break in, and we'll pick up with exclusively bubble talk, bracketology, that kind of thing. Sound good? All right. I did not watch the game live.
Okay.
Full disclosure. My oldest we had training on Tuesday night, so she's trying to get her work in. So I was.
He's breeding professional level athletes and stellar students and great human beings. So
she's trying to do something on the collegiate level next year. She's got a goal. She's got goals. So the reason I say that doesn't matter. Nobody cares yet. Yeah. But I was okay with not sitting and watching the game because I'm gonna, not to brag, but from what I've heard and people talking, that Purdue was up for this game. So to me, the bigger shock was at any point that they were down during the game, just me peeking at the phone and the game cast. So I was not shocked at the outcome of the game in a hostile Illinois environment myself, because I knew they were up for it. And I think that that's an awesome thing with everything else going on, just coming off of a huge celebration at home, confetti, all the, potential distractions. But I think that it just really goes to show that they are able to compartmentalize every single game and make it their own game. And Illinois was a game that they always feel disrespected. Certain players feel very disrespected when they play Illinois, not only from the players but the fans. And it's one and the same to them, and they just enjoy beating them. And I think that if one feels that way with this team, the whole team feels that way. That speaks to their bond and how close they are. So for me, the game was not one that I could see very many scenarios where Illinois beat Purdue, even at home. So that's my thoughts. I'm interested in your analysis of the game because you had eyes on it live and
yeah. Well, so I watched it at home. Obviously, I live very far away, couldn't go, and I probably would, or I would probably go to that hellhole to watch a game. I heard it's a great place to watch a game, but
it is a junky campus. We went to, you remember the Purdue football, Purdue Illinois game?
Games, didn't we? Purdue football.
Yeah, we went to the Taylor Stubblefield up the sideline game. I believe that was at Illinois.
Well, we went the one up the side of the big, like the one that was Notre Dame. It was a big one. Like Adam and I went to that game. That was awesome. But we did go Taylor Stubblefield on that game. Kyle Orton.
Yeah,
he threw that little cross pass up the middle and like seal the deal.
My point is just like as fun as that was, is just
crappy football stadium, bro.
I was excited to get back home.
What?
I was just excited to get back home. We enjoyed a nice meal afterwards.
Yeah. You know, I've never actually been to the Covington Beef House, and that's a big miss for me all the years.
You've never been there?
No, I need to go. Heard the
Leah's been there a couple times. She says it's good. But
Edie had 20 rolls.
She also says fucking Texas Roadhouse is phenomenal. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
why can't you get peanuts anymore at Texas Roadhouse? Like,
did they not do that?
No, there's no. I think their excuse is COVID. I think they give you little bags of peanuts, but you can't throw them on the ground anymore. They look at you funny. Like, what am I here for? The rolls that you don't even like. If we're being honest, they don't even cook them all the way.
I feel like at this point, if not to get this political, but this will be tongue in cheek a little bit. But if you listen to anybody other than Dr. Fauci, COVID didn't happen, or it was insignificant.
I had that shit. I don't know.
No, I had it too. I got very sick, but my
shit was very real to me. I don't know.
But I feel like 4 years removed, peanuts shouldn't be a problem.
Maybe not. I don't know. Fuck. I don't
know.
It's just like I'm okay with the precautions.
Are the peanuts mightier?
Like let's start bringing this shit back. Like if we find out that the peanuts are the cause, then we get rid of it. But like it's okay to let me throw peanut shells on the floor.
The peanuts mightier now than they were.
Sure. Here's the long and short of it. If the Covington Roadhouse Steakhouse lets us throw peanuts on the floor, which I'm pretty sure they don't, I'm there tomorrow. So
noted. Well, I feel like if
someone knows someone,
if you go to a steakhouse for the rolls, it's a miss.
Yeah.
But I never been. I mean, but I feel like if I go to steakhouse, I probably want a good steak. And I heard the rolls are great. I've not been. So no knock on, I'm not trying to art is phenomenal. So I have not been to Covington. I would like to go. My friend obviously hopes that you can crack peanuts on the ground and then he's in.
I mean, you know where it's at, right?
I know it's on the way.
So 74 to 70. So you're going 74 to Illinois, the Illinois state line. Like there's nothing around it. So if you're at the club and there's like one girl there that looks like a fucking sea donkey, it's still a girl. Like, yeah, this is the best girl. Like, I don't know. I've never been to the Covington Steakhouse.
I guess it goes to the old adage that if you get 99 no's out of 100, it was a great night.
Well, there's only one, and it's do you want to eat? Yes or no? Here's a steakhouse, and apparently it's good. I don't know, but that being said, there's no competition there. There's I think across the street there's a Flying J and an Arby's. That's it.
There's probably a lot of J's flying around. And
you got to get right over that state line, then the J's fly.
Yeah.
Speaking of J's flying at Illinois, the only good event I've ever been to at Illinois is the Jay-Z concert. Leah and I went to the Jay-Z concert right after Blueprint 3 came out.
Would you have rather gone to a Jay-Z concert or attended an Illini event?
1,000% the Jay-Z concert.
One of their venues.
1,000%. I'm fairly certain my youngest was conceived after the concert, so it holds a special place in my heart. And he's a phenomenal performer live. Like
there's a reason to suggest that you had the most expensive concert you've ever attended.
It might be top 5 in the history of mankind. That kid is spoiled. She gets whatever she wants.
I mean, the Mad Rubik's Dash, though, you can't quantify the level of just humility that
I feel like if I tried, as much as she's cost me, like all kids do, I mean, she's no different than any kids, but I feel like I could monetize her Rubik's race ability. Like if I could find if I could hustle like a pool hall, but instead of pool, they were playing Rubik's race.
If you did
that exists,
a game,
she's a trillionaire.
and we're talking about we're not talking about a whole lot of time involved. These are
she only needs 4 seconds.
Matches.
If it took 10 seconds, she spent 5 of it laughing at you.
It's humbling. I had to watch them
apart.
She only played with my daughter once. I had to get her therapy. So thank you for that. So
I'm sorry.
Thanks for that.
Your daughter, my daughter doesn't play games with her. I only do it because if I don't, she doesn't have interaction with other humans and board game status. Clue. So this is the funniest. So we're eventually going to talk about
I was only able to guess first because it was my turn first. It's the only reason why I beat her. I got lucky.
With Clue?
And I got to go first. Like, it was my turn. She hadn't moved in her room. And I'm like, well, I win.
With Clue, right? Yeah. Clue. Yeah. So everybody's familiar with Clue.
3 times.
Listen to this shit. So, yeah, she's just,
I won once. We all won. Yeah. We played. Well, I won once. She won the other 3 times I didn't play anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know.
I'm not gonna say what I'd say. She's a grown ass man, but
I don't.
But yes,
I don't know her strategy, but I think she's undefeated in Clue.
Your couch.
Yeah.
Blank name.
She's.
I'm just kidding. She's great.
She's unbelievable at Clue, and this is the reason I bring this up.
Yeah, Rain Woman.
Frickin' yeah, Rain. I don't get it, and she's like whatever strategy or cheat code you can have for Clue, I don't even understand. But she can't be beat in it. But this is why I bring it up. So you're going to be coming up to Indiana for
March Madness, baby.
March Madness. So 21st, 22nd.
Celebrating Purdue's win. Go ahead.
21st, 22nd. So she jumps the gun like first opportunity. She's going to guess Clue, right? If she's playing the game. What's going on at the high school? They're putting on a play. The spring play is Clue. These little fuckers, there's 4 little fuckers on stage, like, gonna react. She's gonna be in the crowd, probably, like, it's Colonel Mustard. Let's all go home. 2 minutes in, play is over.
It's erroneous on all
so my question is, this is Friday, and I know that we probably should be watching games, but if that happens, and I'm certain I can talk her into doing it, how do we not go attend that hammered?
Depends on what Purdue's game is. I don't know. I don't.
It's only going to be 2 minutes of your time. I don't. What are we talking about?
There, like, it's fine. We can do whatever we need to do. We can hammer down on something without.
You understand? This is a 3-hour tour. Like, there's an intermission. Like, there's no lights flickering. Like, it's over for everybody. It ruined Christmas. It's over. So, I mean, that's an option.
There's a reasonable chance, like, if it's anything like what you say it'll be, she will board out all 3 factors in 6 minutes, and it's a 3-hour play. Like, it's over.
It's over.
See your way to the exits.
It's like The Sopranos. It's over. Get a new show. It was Colonel Mustard with the pipe, and the pipe is right here.
And you should have studied.
Jesus Christ. So that's what they're doing. They literally, Leah, my wife, literally asked me, "Hey, am I getting you a ticket?" I was like, I told you the story. I was like, I don't know who you're getting a ticket for. It's not going to be me. I told you repeatedly. It's opening round, so have fun with that. And I'm normally not like that. Normally,
not at all.
You can't talk that way.
Exception for me, I really do appreciate that. We'll have a blast.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's exciting for me because my testicles get taken out of the purse for a couple of days. So normally, no, I have no choice in the matter. I'm sitting there and bribing her with sour Skittles not to tell everybody who done it.
Yeah.
So that's her problem this time.
I mean, it's funny because like when you're playing games, everybody's seen like Jurassic Park, and this has nothing to do with Illinois, but we'll get there. I don't know.
Because Illinois, nobody fucking cares.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Purdue's better than Illinois. Newsflash. Here, do you want it to scroll across the bottom?
No. I mean, it's fine. It's cool. We'll change it or whatever. I don't care. It's fine. People just hopefully are entertained. And so, everyone's probably mainly seen Jurassic Park or one of the 5 movies, 6, whatever's out there. And so, like in the original one, where it's like, the professional raptor captor is like, out there amongst the bushes and whatever, like, with the Australian accent, oh crikey, like just out there like in their, sizing up like how are we gonna like trap this raptor? And that raptor has like the one eye in the bush, kind of already like looking at him and sizing up this dude that's a professional at catching raptors, like, and the raptor's like, just kind of look like the wink, like, oh shit, like, so she sizes up, pretty much every human being when she plays these games. And it's literally like the Queen's Gambit in chess or freaking Bobby Fischer. It's it's kind of like, it's mean. It's a little mean. Like, I think you made her mean. Like, she's not trying to be mean, but it's like, the whole, I shall taunt you a second time. Your mother was a hamster and your father reeked of elderberries. Check. It's awesome. Protege, love it. It's good stuff. Anyways, I don't know where we're at. But anyways, back somewhere back in this Illinois game. So
tell me what you saw in the Illinois game. Good, bad, ugly.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
So you actually were pretty. Your shirt is very strong, by the way. Just now you leaned back enough that.
Well, you.
I inspired you with a little tweet, maybe.
You did. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah,
Let me. So you shared everybody is familiar with the Charlie Murphy Prince basketball story.
Wow, this is a real picture of
the actual picture.
Murphy. That's actual picture of Prince standing over Charlie Murphy on this. Looks like busted ass hoop. Where they
I was disappointed.
He gained blouses, I mean, but like, there you go. These real, true Hollywood stories.
So yeah.
The shirt game is always
game blouses.
Yeah, the pancakes. So, anyways, Illinois, Purdue. You were actually pretty confident that they would win the game. You knew a few things, little backstory there too. It's like, and all those things absolutely do matter. Purdue, it's obviously a hostile place. They had Illinois fans, players, Hawkinses, all these people were, they were like going back 2 months early, like for Purdue first lost or beat Wisconsin, and Wisconsin finally lost the game, so Purdue like tied up the Big Ten like the beginning of February. They're like, well, Illinois, like, Hawkins is on Twitter, like during his press conference. So normally be like, yeah, man, this guy played great. Like, we could do a little bit better at this. And then like, but like, it was not that long on the press conference. He's like, well, like someone asked him a question about it, like, but I don't think they even brought up like the race to the Big Ten. It's like, well, they still got to come here, and beat us. And like, well, there's like 9 games before that happens. Like, there could be a few things that happen. You might need to win a few. They need to win a few. Like, Purdue needs to win. Like, it doesn't like. I can assure you, Purdue spent no time thinking about what Illinois is going to do in the last 8 games. None. Not even 5 minutes.
No.
These people are talking about in press conferences. So it's like super, super, super circled Super Bowl. And then the problem when you do that is like when you put all that much energy in something like that, and then you're not focusing on the day to day, like we were talking about earlier, like Purdue game, how they're doing. They're looking at every game as its own entity. Is that you can't focus on the big prize if you can't focus on all the little prizes, and you can't win the war if you don't win battles. And they're sitting there worried about stuff like that. And they had this circled as a big deal. And they're like, well, now we have Terrence Shannon Jr. back. And, and it's the same old thing. It's like, well, when they played Arizona, they're like, man, I don't know how Purdue guards going to hold up against these long athletic Arizona guards. Play Tennessee before that, like, well, they're just so physical, great defense. How are they going to they beat, well, Alabama can really, really score, like really long, athletic, like all these people. It's like flip it around. Like, how are they going to like deal with like Purdue, like Zach Edey, the guards we have,
bro? That was the worst. It could have been really ugly, honestly, if Purdue would have consistently hit Edey that deep.
Yeah.
His catches, I've never seen. I mean, it's like watching Shaq back in the day. If you let him catch that deep, it is over. And
we missed a lot of layups in the first half.
Yeah, but like catching that deep is just fundamentally at that point, the game is not going to be in doubt. Like, you can go on runs, you can do it, but if you consistently, like by consistent, I mean every possession down the floor, if he wanted to catch 6 inches from the rim,
like 18 points at halftime.
They were letting him catch there. It's just turn, and it's.
So
I don't know how Illinois, if mentally,
like Gary A, they were hitting threes. They were like they just
sure.
Cover. I mean,
sure, but
so they were and then so the thing about it is like the crowd's fired up. They're chanting just "F you, Edey," which is funny. Matt Painter said a little story that like they were chanting "F you, Edey" like before the national anthem, like it was all silent, and they're like "F you, Edey," and Matt Painter's aware of these things, but not into it like that, like any means. But like everybody's like aware, like players are aware of like point spreads, even if you're not involved in that crap. Coaches like they know if you're the favorite. They might not know like what the points are, but they know like because they use that as motivational tools. Like they saw, hey, Purdue's like an underdog, so you can go to that and be like, hey, you're an underdog tonight. Like think about that. You're the second or third ranked team in the country. You are a freaking underdog. So they know what the perception of a game is by the media. Like the media just like shits all over you or whatever. So Matt Painter had a little story, I think, like today, or yesterday with John Fanta, where he asked him some questions, and he's like, yeah, that's probably worth like because Edey kind of gave him a nod, and Matt Painter said like, that's probably worth 4 points, just like, which is hilarious because it's sort of like like he knew Edey would be like totally dialed in and fired up. Like now you're just pissing him off when you say F you, Edey. And then they were chanting, and this is like, read the room, Illini, for the love of God. They were chanting DUI chants that are like 3 or 4 years old for Mason Gillis that were pretty weak anyways. But my point is like, if you have a current person on your roster that has probably committed a greater felony, has an outstanding felony charge that is much worse than a DUI, and you're chanting DUI, or like when he was coming back to the bench, like fans were like, have another, like, can I get you another one? Like, not even like in the fun way, like, did the bartender cut you off last night? How about so I had a few Chardonnays or whatever. None of that crap. None of like, let's just be fun. like saying FUED and chanting DUIs is like so brainless. It's so unoriginal. Like do something fun. Like, I don't know. But you got to be better than that. Make some fun signs. But anyways, so they circled this game as their Super Bowl. They're thinking like, I don't know, when you put all that into it, then you lose, like that has got to be crippling. I mean, like literally demoralizing because now you have Terrence Shannon Jr., your savior. You're supposed to be great, but what happened is like, what happened? Lance Jones has a tough game, but, Smith just orchestrates another phenomenal win. Lawyer, as we said, even in that Michigan game a couple of pods ago, like he was starting to come on that game. He made that run. He did it against Michigan State. So it's like, I think you're getting, winning time Fletcher Lawyer back.
And I don't even care what the outcomes are, because he's gonna struggle again at some point. But I think that we both made the point with
But he was better defensively in this game too.
You have to scout him, like
you have to. Yeah.
Even if he'd never turned it around, and I think I said this, like from now, like you're gonna have to scout him, even if he never turns it around. But now that he's shown like I can shoot 4 for 6 from 3, and that's with other players, stepping up, having big offensive games. So like you need to know, like we need to track him, and that just opens everything up. It opens up driving lanes. You can't help on Edey. You can't rotate down to help on Edey. Like he's going to get clean looks now while being scouted heavier. It's just it's a pick your poison that no coach wants to see.
And because there's just a dearth of excellent shooters at Purdue, like, and then very good guard play, like Lance Jones has struggled a little bit, but he made a dagger 3. You know what? Because Braden Smith believes in these players, and when he's the one controlling it. So if he kicks it out, it's like you're gonna, your makes are coming, and so it's like here's you in this spot. You haven't shot the ball well this game, but guess what? I'm gonna get you this in rhythm 3, and I expect you to make it. And he knocks on, even though Lance Jones struggled with a couple of games recently, he still had a massive 3 in the last 2 or 3 games. Like one, even though like the numbers haven't been like great points, but it's like when you make some of these are just killer. Gillis has been doing that like all season long. He has 1 or 2 threes in a game. Someone said more than that, but he's had 1 or 2 3-pointers in a game where it's been like backbreaker, And some of that was like on a kick out where it was like a kind of a bad pass, fouled around, kicked out, nowhere to go with it. Like in Purdue practices where you should be and where to go with these spots where they do these kick out 3s on a rebound or when they close in and do a double. Like you just have to give or take here and there one way or another. And I can assure you that even if like Lawyer, when he wasn't a slump, or even now that like Jones has been a little one, if you let Purdue shoot these things on these kick out 3s, they're going to make, even if they're having they're going to make a handful of them, even if they're not, even if, and Illinois actually is playing really good defense in the first half. And in the second half, Purdue probably played some of the best defense they played all season long. They just, as they say, like turn the water off. I mean, so where it's like they just really clamp down. Terrence Shannon Jr., his play is really affected when he doesn't get out in transition. I saw something where Brad Underwood said he had 0 rebounds. I mean, for a guard of that guard of that size to have 0 rebounds is you can't win a game like.
Well,
that's not winning basketball. You know what I'm saying? So if you're not. And so obviously Braden Smith did a phenomenal job on him defensively, and a handful of others. And Lance Jones is right there defensively too. Like I said, there's been some, but what people haven't seen yet is the Lance Jones, Lawyer, Braden Smith, Edey all playing well games. And if that comes to fruition in March, you're not touching this Purdue team. I mean, it's just you're just like they haven't all had a game where they like usually it's maybe 2 of them, maybe 1. But like if Lance Jones and Lawyer weren't doing like Smith was stepping up. Smith's got to the point now where it's like he just expects to make it. I mean, he's got to the point where it's like, that he motioned Edey to come and pick up a screen because he knew the length Shannon had. And all he did was motion him to get him to look off for that 1 second, split second, to get him the room to get that 3-pointer that basically sealed the deal and put us up 6. And that was all like, once again, sizing somebody up. Like he has got the length that he can come out and guard me. But if he thinks that massive Zach Edey screen's coming, you have to turn. And something that comes, there's a cohesive situation there where it's like, Purdue, I'm sure, talks a lot on defense. There's breakdowns here and there. But when they're locked in defensively and, offensively and that kind of thing, it's like when you trust the people behind you to call out that stuff for you, you don't have to look back. Or you might look back when you know it's coming because, it's coming. But if you're not communicating that way, so there's that unwritten communication that makes a big difference, especially in these road environments. And, Purdue is definitely hooked up in the second half. And I just, so I knew we both had said, I was like, and towards the end, you almost kind of convinced me thinking like, well, I think Purdue's going to win this game. And a lot of the sharp action was on Illinois to beat Purdue because Purdue historically, or even, a couple weeks earlier, the great UConn struggled mightily at Creighton because that was a home run spot for Creighton. And, you have UConn where you just slaughter Marquette and everybody thinks you're so great. And, so you could take that same thing with what Purdue did against Michigan State and win the Big Ten, big celebration, naturally a letdown spot for most people. But you can tell that this team has the eye on the prize. And that right there is a great example of the difference between like maybe UConn and Purdue, where it's like, they went out there and got boat raced, where Purdue came in. This team has been talking about this team constantly to beat Purdue, at Illinois. They got Terrence Shannon. It's like now they have now you have nothing. I mean, like you put in all this, so it's like, and the crazy thing is there was an Illini podcast and there's one really, really good one, but the one like that says like, who asked us? Illini podcast. There was like 5 minutes in and one of the dudes, the guy's name was like Chody, but I'm pretty sure it's a silent T with a D, just Chode. That dude was like, Illinois is the better team. Like after the game, I'm like, what? I mean, what? By what metric? Like, what did you see that you could justify? You thought we've already beat you once, without Terrence. Now we beat you at home, and they're like, well, the officiating with people that aren't familiar with Zach Edey in a neutral site, like, would have a better. I'm thinking to myself, like, you think on a neutral site location. Like, honestly, the whistle was crazy slanted to Illinois. I mean, it was nuts in the beginning. It was unbelievable. But that's that's why I was really impressed with Purdue, because they overcame, phantom calls in the game early on. And, and I've seen a lot of Purdue teams in the past fold under that adversity. And the fact that they know that they're the better team, and that these runs are coming, and then they stay the course, and they just, we walk into our defensive principles, we walk into our offensive principles, and we just trust the process. And you listen to interviews afterward, like Lawyer was like, yeah, there was not 1 second for that game we thought we were going to lose. And then one time they're down 11 points. And, you're on the road, you're not shooting threes well, Edey's got some fouls, it's just, and so this game to me proved to me, I mean, I've always thought, and you have too, like Purdue is obviously clearly championship caliber level team, but I think I know that last year's team loses this game, and actually many, many great Purdue teams lose this game in this spot, and so I tried to separate that from like what I think this year's team is. And ultimately I felt like I came to that conclusion that they certainly would win the game if, they did all those things. And, I didn't even know some of the things you knew, that they were super extra up for it. But my thing is when they were talking after the Michigan State win and winning the Big Ten, that they were like, well, we haven't really, not so we haven't done anything yet, but, that was like a check mark, but it was just like one more segment of their road to meeting all their goals, and that it's one thing to like talk about it and coach speak it, throw it out there, but it's when you say it and you believe it and then you also back it up. But like when you say something, when someone asks you a question and you don't think about the answer, and that's the first thing that comes out of your mouth, that's a confident answer. That's what you actually believe always. And when you're getting these interviews and that player says it and that player says it and that player says it, it's like that's deeper than just like, well, look off the camera. Like you can't, like like when you answer it definitively, that really says like a lot. So I don't know. I was very impressed by Purdue in the win. It was a great comeback, great second half game. They led for the first 30 minutes. Purdue was trailing the first 30 minutes, shall I say? But and then when Purdue when they got that lead, I think Illinois started doubting, and Purdue started believing that much more that we're the better team. And that's with everything going for them. All these people that if Purdue plays in the Big Ten tournament, I mean, is Illinois capable of winning? Sure. But now you've seen Purdue win the game, two different ways. Edey had a bad game the first time they played. This time, redonkulous. Both times, Braden Smith was good. I think last time Gillis was really, he was good this game too, but like really, really good. He had a bunch of points. I think Coffin Wren actually had a massive game the first time they played Illinois. And so that didn't happen. So it was like, well, if he doesn't get that, they don't win. Well, now somebody else steps up. Somebody else.
Yeah.
Like it's, you can, but I hear a lot of sensible Illinois fans, afterwards is like, what can you say? Like some are like, that's a national champion we're probably just lost to. If you have any sense about you, that's what you take from that game. I mean, fortunately for them, if they run into Purdue, they will have made it a long way probably in the NCAA tournament. So like, that's a good problem to have, obviously it can happen in the Big Ten tournament, but, and they'll be on opposite sides because Illinois is, I think, locked into the 2 seed. So they basically couldn't play them until the championship game. But both teams have to make it there. And, honestly, once you get to where Purdue doesn't play Illinois, if they play any, they might end up having to play Michigan State. That could be a tough game, neutral, obviously. But, if they're playing like an Ohio State or Nebraska, you got that extra revenge factor in there. I know Iowa's been better recently, but, if you play Minnesota and they've not been playing quite as well recently. But at the end of the day, if Purdue plays their game, they're not going to lose. And that's to everybody they play. That's not just in the Big Ten. That's if they play how they're capable, I truly believe that Purdue's ceiling is the highest in the whole country.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, but a lot of people say, the Houstons and the UConns, and there's some very good teams. I mean, you could make a case for the Kentucky when they're playing on all cylinders. They're great, but they're still not stopping anybody. Mm-hmm. So you got to win 115, 105. If Purdue can play in a game like that. They haven't done it yet. They played close to that. They can play in a game where like first one to 95 wins, 100. They can do that. They can also play a game in the 60s that they can win. I think they would probably prefer to be somewhere in the middle, of that, but it's, so I was very encouraged by the win. I've always felt like they're probably going to be in the Final Four. I feel very strongly about having them in the Final Four, almost regardless of any bracket, because the demeanor of this basketball team is just different. And clearly the way they lost, we've gone on about it before, but the way they lost last year is a motivating factor. Zach Edey's last year. But I think something is inside of them that when push comes to shove, they're just, the cream is going to rise to the top.
For sure.
Team. And so I was very, very encouraged by it. I mean, Purdue's basically seen it all at this point, like what you can throw at them, whether it be a press or, you want to get in a shootout. Like I said, all the factors and triple teaming Edey, hacking the shit out of Edey. And obviously there'll be situations where we might not shoot threes as well, but it seems like someone is always, more than one person, usually one at least, has stepped up and done some of that. But it's almost like we can figure a different way to win the game even when those things happen. Because I think because the defense, Purdue can get stops to allow for some of our mistakes or poor shooting or we honestly, essentially, is if Purdue keeps it to single digit turnovers and we out rebound you, which we out rebound almost everybody, but if they keep it to 10 or less turnovers and they out rebound you, it doesn't even matter how well we shoot, we beat you. If we do those things and we shoot well, we kill you. And so, and that's only from a handful of people. Like I think if this thing really gets rolling, and then somehow you get some of these spot, and Heidi, he's been really Heidi defensively, really, really slowed down Damask.
Yeah,
people like kind of booty ball him, but he's got the size and the length, and he's really come on defensively. So where Matt Painter's comfortable playing him like 15, 20, 25. I mean, he's playing a lot of minutes.
Yeah.
Now you're getting the offensive upside with him, as opposed to some of that what might be lacking with Ethan Morton. But you've got that defensive ability and that extra person in your lineup out there as a scoring threat and as a defensive stopper and a rebounder in that length. And he got called for a couple just ticky-tack calls too, which is sort of ridiculous. And I think the problem is referees will call sometimes the obvious foul happens on Zach Edey, but then they're going to make it up on the other end, and it's like, oh well, we'll give it to Cameron Heidi because it's Cameron Heidi, and not So we got to keep eating like one of those things where we got to keep this person in the game or do whatever else. But so we'll give you that hand check foul that wouldn't be called a foul, but we got to even it up somehow, and you're just that person, And I actually think that happens to a few of the players. Kaufman Wren's been a victim of that at times. Like we can't call him Edey, we call it on Wren.
Yeah.
And they might call him Edey too, but I'm saying if they have to even it up, it's like, well, we'll give you that foul. You didn't move, you went straight up, but we got to call a foul.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was very encouraged by it. Obviously a great win. I think it all but solidifies Purdue as the number one overall seed. If they beat Wisconsin at home, that's another quad one. I mean, Purdue has more quad one ranked wins than Houston and Connecticut combined. And, I think at the end of the day, like I said, that fourth and that 5 seed, like fourth overall, the number one, the last number one, and that first number 2 seed are basically Tennessee and Arizona. I think North Carolina might be kind of in there a bit. I don't think they're going to have the opportunity to really do it, even if Duke. And then if they win maybe. But by then it's like, I think Tennessee plays Kentucky this weekend. If they beat Kentucky, and how could who they played also? They also played a very hard non-conference schedule. So it's like, look at the record and who they played. So if you can't say that about and Kentucky played some good teams too. It wasn't that, but you're going to give it to Tennessee over Arizona and North Carolina, in my opinion, because they just have so many wins, and even their losses are tremendous. And honestly, Tennessee and Houston are pretty similar. I think Tennessee's a little better actually in the offensive end.
Yeah, I think Houston is a level above defensively.
Yeah, they're a level above them defensively, and Tennessee's probably a level above offensively. But they still have a lot of guys that can get it done, well coached. No one's going to want to put either one of those two teams into the tournament as far as that goes. But right now it's like the 2 of Purdue's wins are the teams battling for the final 1 seed. And Purdue's one of the 1 seeds, so they didn't play the other 2. So I don't really see any scenario. Like I don't think they're going to be the first round of the tournament of the Big Ten tournament, but I mean they're almost. It would almost be like UConn would have to win out, Houston would have to win out, and Purdue to lose in the first round of the Big Ten tournament for them not to be number 1 overall. And I'm still not that might be enough to sway them. Depends on who they beat along the way. But you're getting to the point where just who Purdue is beat. It's like I said, it's not even the quad 1 wins. It's the quality of the quad 1 wins. There's no comparison. So I think they're pretty much locked into number 1 overall seed, barring some crazy collapse.
Yeah, time's running out.
Yeah, time's running out. So, anyways, but yeah, I came away actually even more confident that Purdue will be in the Final Four, and then like I said, I'm not 100%. I mean, I hope we do, and I certainly think we can, and it depends on matchups. And obviously, just breaking through will take a lot of pressure off. I think that will, but obviously, when you get to that level, you're playing teams that are really damn good. So you just can't. You might not be able to have like a bad 5-minute stretch when you're playing in a Final Four. I mean, you might, in terms of you're playing and depends on how you shoot and some other things. But when you get to that level, I actually think the most pressure for Purdue, will be that second game will have without being Indianapolis, but like winning the regional semifinal, winning a regional final, that game will have, I think, more pressure than every game. I think that game will have more pressure than like the first, if they make the Final Four, the first Final Four game. Like the national championship game will have its own pressure because you're in that. But I'm not so sure that the regional final game wouldn't be as much pressure, if not maybe more than the national championship game would be.
Yeah.
From just from getting over the hurdle and what it means. Like
yeah, certainly.
The players, I mean, all the way around. And so, but this, I already felt like Purdue's going to be in the Final Four. I still feel very strongly about that, even without seeing the bracket. There's certainly teams that I, wouldn't go out of my way to like we play them. I think Kentucky would be a very dangerous team for Purdue, just in general. I'm not saying we can't beat them, because I know we can beat anybody. But but all things being equal, this just cemented the fact that I think Purdue is almost a locked Final Four team.
Yeah.
Because of all the reasons, And Illinois is certainly a team that in the NCAA tournament, if you were just going to take another team from the Big Ten to go for, I mean, it seems obviously very obvious that it would be Illinois.
Yeah.
But, obviously Michigan State, if they get there, and I think they will, could make some noise. Possibly Wisconsin if they turn it around, depends on their draw. But I think with Illinois and I think with Michigan State getting in, I don't even think it matters on their draw. I think they can make noise regardless. I think the other teams that get in, might, now honestly, if a team like Iowa gets in the way they've been playing, they could be kind of sneaky because they'll have like zero pressure. And they've been going to the tournament with like a high seed, high expectations. It's like because they started out so slow, they're going to have like zero expectations, and that might be the perfect thing for them. When they had all those expectations when they had National Player of the Year, what's his name? I can't think of his name right now, a couple years ago. Damn good player. I mean, but they felt like a Keegan Murray, got the Murray brothers. They've had they've had like 5 or 6 years of having first team All-Americans on their team. Like I can't remember the guy's All-American that won Luka Garza a couple of years ago. So those seem like that's a one team. They had a lot of pressure. But at the end of the day, they weren't good enough because they don't play good enough defense. They've been playing a little better recently, but like those teams didn't have good enough defenses, and it's very similar to like the Alabamas, the Kentuckys. Some of these teams, you can score a lot, but if you can't, Illinois, almost the same thing. It's optional, and you get to a point where people are so good offensively or scheming you. If you can't string 4, 5, 6 stops together, if you're not shooting well, you're done. You're out of it. You're gone. You're out of the tournament. And that is another humongous difference in this team. The team defensively last year had reasonably decent metrics, but I mean, certainly, I think they were all right. But they weren't like title worthy, like really. And the year before that, it was even worse. But the offense was unbelievable. But no team that has even had that high of an offense. If you have a defense that's like lower than 80 in the country in efficiency, you can't win the national championship because you can't stop anybody. It doesn't matter if you're the best offense, And so the Kentuckys and the Alabamas and some of those teams like that can really get up if you don't have a high defensive ability, you're capable of doing it. You can't quite. You might be able to go on a little bit of a run. You'll hit somebody in the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8 or maybe in the second round that they just beat you. And this particular Purdue team can get the stops, can make adjustments. Second, their halftime adjustments on defense many times have been outstanding, and that's a credit to Coach Painter. But yeah, I was very encouraged by the game overall. What else? What's the next on the docket here?
I don't have anything on the docket. I just wanted to definitely review the game on Tuesday. You have any thoughts about the upcoming game against Wisconsin?
It'll be emotional day for Purdue, obviously, senior day. I think Wisconsin, they beat Rutgers, beat them at home. They were actually down a lot of the game, I think. I wasn't really watching, but I saw at one point they were down. The next thing I saw they won like 8 or 9 or 10. So I know Wisconsin got a nice little senior day win at home, and they've got a lot of seniors on that team. One thing that probably really sucks, and I bet Greg Gard does not care for this at all, is like, so Purdue's game finished Tuesday night. The Champaign is not far away from Purdue, so hour 15, hour and a half. Even with the stops, whatever, you're going to get like a normal night's sleep on a night game at Champaign. It's like if you're going to be home in your bed like at a reasonable time. I mean, theoretically, Wisconsin played last night, Thursday night. Now it was at home. And it was kind of like, I don't know, middle to early. I mean, but either way, it's at home, but it's 2 days later. So Purdue has like 2 additional more days of rest. And this is like an 11 o'clock, 11:30 game on Fox at Mackey. So it's an earlier game. So you're talking about you're just winding down Thursday night, like midnight, probably in a home game. And you basically get like Friday today to like, I guess, maybe rest practice. I mean, you're not going to rest, but probably light practice, go through your scouting. You got Saturday. And then, basically because you're probably coming to Mackey Arena. You're coming there on Saturday night, a Saturday late afternoon, so you're there a day early. And then there's also a time change. So I didn't really think about that, but you're springing forward, so you actually lose an hour.
Yeah.
So you're actually in a situation where, in your bodies, it might still be, 10 in the morning, 11 o'clock, 11:30 game. And so you even lose that hour on top of that. But I think it's a very short turnaround. Like, even if that was a Wednesday game, that 1 extra day makes a difference. 2 extra days might be a whole lot. So Purdue's got 2 extra days of rest. You got senior day. They're just the better team. I mean, Wisconsin certainly got players. They have players that can play. And they'll throw bodies at Edie. But, if you watch Wisconsin over the last month and change, there's something wrong with them. They're a little bit off. They're a little broken. They historically have been terrible at Mackey Arena. I think they only have like 3 wins in the building's history. I think they did win one actually last year, the year before. I think it cost Purdue a Big Ten championship actually. But would have been last year, but one of the years I think it did cost Purdue a Big Ten championship. And Wisconsin's a very, very tough team as far as that goes. But I mean, I feel like 2 days rest extra. That's massive for a college. Don't you think?
Oh yeah.
In addition, just in additional to everything else, and Rutgers is a very physical team. So you're grinding out a win, you spend all this energy against Rutgers, and Rutgers is like, you want someone to punch you in the mouth and get after you. That wasn't some layup line against Rutgers.
No.
Rutgers is not the team they'll be in the near future. But they still have dudes, and they're still very physical. And so honestly, it's almost like you're playing. It's probably one of the worst teams you could almost play on a short rest versus Purdue going into it, because now you're really beat up and you have that much less time to prepare. And so, just even thinking it out loud, not just in my head, that I think is going to really factor into Purdue situation winning. I don't think Wisconsin was going to come to Mackey, go to Mackey on Sunday and win anyways. But senior day, and Purdue does senior day after the game. I think Illinois did theirs before. A lot of people do it before. I know Michigan State, they like to do it afterwards. I don't know why anyone would ever do theirs before a game. There's just a lot of emotions. That can be good or bad. But I think regardless of what happens in an outcome of a game, it's almost better to do it after the game, because even if you lose, your fans are staying around and celebrating your accomplishments over 4 or 5 years. So it makes you feel good about yourself. Obviously, no one likes to lose, but you still have something to look forward to. Whereas, if you just lost and then you did all before, now you're really feeling empty because, this is what we put on. This is the show we put on for our fans. It sucked. So I don't know what the spread is. I've not looked at mine to be out yet, but I actually would suspect it will be 9 or 10 or 10 or 11. It might be 9 or 10 points. It might be a little more than that. I think Purdue actually will cover that. And, because it's going to be Zach Edey's last game in Mackey. A lot of people think he gets this great whistle. Anyone that watches understands that's not really the case. But if there's ever a day where Purdue or maybe even Edey will get a very good whistle, it'll be then. His last day. You don't want to be the guy that's like, oh, so Zach Edey senior day played 9 minutes. The ref, no one wants that. So, there's just and it's not like they'll do it on purpose. But subconsciously, refs are human beings too. So you understand the moment. So you might have something that everybody would think would be a foul normally, which might not be a foul, maybe is a foul, but I don't see a scenario where Wisconsin comes here and wins. In fact, I think that we kind of helped break Wisconsin in addition to that Nebraska comeback they had that kind of started their run of losing streak. But I really think that Purdue's going to be locked in for this one for Edey because, like you said, players are all for one another. Ethan Morton, Mason Gillis, a handful of walk-ons. There's a lot of people that have helped Purdue win a lot of games. It's already, I believe, now tied or the winningest class, 4-year class ever at Purdue. You're talking I think they're the winningest class at Purdue ever. So you're talking about one more win, if they win that game. 2 or 3, maybe games in the Big Ten tournament, and that's a tournament, and they could beat that by where you're getting. I can't say untouchable because I think the pipeline's looking pretty good, but you start getting to where you're going to have to go pretty far in the tournament a few years in a row to just get to play enough games to beat some of these teams of upcoming classes. And mind you, Braden Smith and Lawyer will be on 2 of those teams. So the ceiling is going to be pretty high, so they certainly have that opportunity. But there's been a lot of damn good Purdue teams in the state you're the winningest class ever. I think they're either tied for it or one game. I think they're right there. I think they already have it. They might have done it in Illinois. But that's incredible. So I can't see them going out and losing that game. All things being equal, what it takes to beat Purdue is excellent outside shooting. You have to force Purdue into double-digit turnovers, and you have to out-rebound them. And only a couple of those things have happened 3 times, and that's their only losses. And that's really the turnovers. Honestly, they have 10 or less turnovers. They don't lose even if they don't out-rebound, don't shoot well. It doesn't matter. So, and Wisconsin's not like a big turn-your-ass-over team.
Wisconsin doesn't seem to have an identity this year.
Yeah, and that's everything.
And I think forever Wisconsin had an identity, and it's just odd to see. It was odd to see, as they started this slide, but I just think it's you kind of expected them to turn it around, but at this point, after you've watched it for a month and a half, it's just. They're just kind of trying to figure out what they are. And it's really the onus is on them to figure it out. And teams are just playing their game and dictating what they want to do because
exactly
they're disjointed and they don't know what they want to do. So it's really surprising to see. But I mean, as every game they play goes, it's just odd. It's just Wisconsin is typically one of those steady programs in the conference that you don't. That's the last thing you worry about with them is them just just being disjointed and not sure of what they are or what they're going to bring to the table every night. It's odd to see. So I definitely think Purdue will exploit that. I think that you could see I could see Purdue motivated to get up big early so you can get playing time for some seniors on senior night to where it gets out of hand. That's kind of how I see it going. And I don't know that, typically Wisconsin would not allow that to happen. It's just not,
I don't think they can
this year
stop it. I don't think.
I don't think that they're going to have a say in the matter. They're just going to have to, get through the game. And their goal should be to get out of the game healthy. That's about it. I think that they would find that as a win, once they're sitting in the locker room at halftime. That's the way I see the game going. I hope I'm right in that regard, but
I was a little more worried when we played Michigan State that we wouldn't cover that big spread because I knew it was a spot where they really needed to show out and they have that pedigree because of their coach.
Yeah.
And they actually have, obviously clearly a lot of talent as well.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And they have the whole selling point of prove it to ourselves. And I'm not saying that Wisconsin won't come in and doesn't maybe think that, but I feel like this Wisconsin team, they have no killers. And they have, I think if you punch them in the mouth and you get them down to a certain level, I think you have a chance to break their will pretty early in the game. And even whereas we got Michigan State down to 15 and they had those two a bogus foul and some other stuff, they cut it down to 9 pretty quick. If they don't get that, I think that turns into a blowout. Mm-hmm. And that was a team that was all their eggs in one basket in that game type performance. And, with them beating Rutgers last night, I don't see you're getting that less of a desperate team, but, water eventually does find its level. So when you have these teams where you've lost and then you get told how much you suck, now they're feeling a little good about themselves. And I won't say they won't be on as much on edge, but I think if they have that loss, you have something to if they were coming into a continued losing streak where, man, we're falling down to a 7, 8, 9 seed. You have that stops the bleeding, but I think we're going to go for the kill shot, that, so to speak. So it's one of those things where I don't see them turning that into momentum, and they might come Big Ten tournament. And so I actually think in this tournament, they'll be left for dead by bracketologists.
It'll be very matchup dependent.
They are, but I think
I'm going to have a hard time picking them in some matchups, but I agree with you. You can get out of hand and overboard with that. There's still, there's still Big Ten talent on that team. Yeah. So there's not going to be a position where I'm going to take, if a Pepperdine got in and they play, no, I'm sorry. It's just not,
exactly.
So
there'll be a spot where, someone has them and you already know this is coming. People are going to fade the hell out of them.
Yeah.
What's going to happen is they're going to win a game against someone you think they won't win, and they're going to mess up someone's bracket, and they might even sink into a Sweet 16. Now they might get throttled. They might even get throttled in the second round game.
Whenever their final game is, they're going to get throttled.
Exactly. We can put that
whenever that is. I don't
put that on the board right now. We can put that on the board. You already know that.
Yeah.
Because that will be the team that they just can't hang with, and it goes sideways, and they don't have that, that identity. They don't have that identity. Yeah. That's everything. And so we both are on and we'll pick it out when we go over the bracket. We'll be like, that's the game.
Yep.
That's it. But people will be wanting to throw them in the trash too early, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
That's just my opinion. And it's not, and it's because it's a total reset and it's a restart. You're at the point now in the Big Ten season where there's no more reset.
There's
not now, but in this way tournament, and even in the Big Ten tournament, maybe. But I still think they don't.
So, what's your prediction with Wisconsin, for instance? Let's assume that they lose to Purdue. Let's assume they win 0-1 games in the Big Ten tournament. What line do you think that they fall in?
I think right now
they're a 6 right now.
I think they're probably a 6, right? Is that my? I think they actually. I think they may end up. I don't know. I could probably pull up something that has.
To me, they're the profile.
So
we're gonna.
We'll go ahead.
To me, they're the profile of a team. If they lose these 2 games, and even if they don't, like just the way I view them, they're really the profile of that 11 seed play in. To me, in reality,
they are.
And I don't think that that's where they're going to end up, but that's where I think they should be.
Well, even on here on today's bracketology, Joe Lenardi's or whatever, you can use several of them. You have San Diego State, BYU, Clemson, South Carolina as 5 seeds. The only way, I don't think they can probably even get back to that unless they had some crazy run to beat Purdue. Those things are not likely to happen. So I don't think they really have any chance of getting back to the 5. When at one point they were a lock for a 3, or not 3, but a 4, could be a 3, maybe even high. At one point they were talking could they get to the 1 line? On the game where they played Purdue, there was talk about that.
Yeah,
which was psycho. But I thought they could be. I thought they'd end up maybe a 3 or a 4. I really thought they might end up as a 3 the way they were playing because they played a hard schedule. So now obviously they've fallen all the way down to a 6, going the wrong direction. The other 6s right now on paper are, Washington State, Dayton, Utah State. I don't think they have any standing over any of those teams. I don't think they, South Carolina's a 5. I think South Carolina's very susceptible 5-12, right? If that stays there, I think they'll drop from that. Well, maybe not. I don't know, but either way. So I need to look to where the 7s are. If you want to fast forward really quick to the 7s, because that's the point I was trying to make. I don't know if you have it on the 6s. I could fast forward.
Yeah.
Well, look at on that. You got it up there. So scroll really quick. What are the 7s for me really quick, just in general? Looks like
you want them in each bracket, each region. You want them in each region. So
you just tell me what they are.
Nevada, St. Mary's.
Yeah, well, they're not better than St. Mary's. They're probably not better than Nevada.
Gonzaga and Dayton.
Okay, so Gonzaga, Dayton. Okay, so Gonzaga, Dayton, St. Mary's, and Nevada.
Yeah,
they're not better than any of those teams.
No, I think that. So you go to.
So to be honest with you, I think they struggle to stay on the 6 line. I think those teams can move up.
Yeah.
Dayton just won tonight in overtime. I saw, so they won against maybe VC. They beat somebody tonight in overtime. But they've been talked about all year long, so they kind of have that staying power as far as a mid-major. You know what I'm saying? They've been good ranked. They have that cachet as far as that goes. So, I think. An 8 seed's not out of the question where they're at. They might have to really falter. They're not going to get any. They're not going to take any. They're not going to lose anything by losing at Purdue, even if they get.
Yeah, no, that's. I think
that even cost you a seed. But if they lose the first game of the Big Ten tournament, I know they're in the double bye. Well, actually, I don't think they're even in the double bye anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're out of the double bye, aren't they? So they got to play Thursday game, which is insane that they've fallen that far. But I mean, so they got to play. So if they lose a Thursday game, that's not necessarily against a great team, right? I mean, honestly, if you're playing on Thursday, you're probably not playing a tournament team. I mean, and if you are playing a tournament team, like let's say you have to play. I mean, I don't have a bracket. Let's say you have to
play Minnesota.
Minnesota.
And this is at Minnesota. From a betting standpoint, give me Minnesota.
Yeah, but do you think they're beating Iowa? Who needs?
No, I don't.
None. Not. You think they're beating Michigan State?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I mean, I don't. Do you think they're beating Northwestern?
No. I'd have to think that just the matchup, just the way they match up, but no, probably not.
But I mean, Northwestern right now is like a not, like Nebraska. They're like a 10 seed. You think they're beating Nebraska?
Possibly. Yeah, they could. If they can.
I mean, but I'm saying, do you think like Nebraska needs to win again in the tournament? I mean, like they need to win.
Exactly.
Make sure they're probably already yet. But
that's a great point. If Nebraska is playing for their tournament life, I give Wisconsin no shot.
Exactly, no shot. So now I just rattle off teams, and now if you lose one of those games, even though those teams are better than what they're being perceived as, you're dropping a seed because you didn't win. I think you lost 8 of 10 games, and you lost to like 6 non-tournament teams.
If you're an 8 seed, that's worst case scenario for you because you're playing a 9 seed. You're playing what on paper is a comparable team to you from an uncommon, unfamiliar opponent from across the country, likely.
Yeah. Ship you out west.
It's a coin. I don't know. I say it's the worst. Maybe it's a coin flip, like you said. Maybe it's a reset, and it's the way to get right. But I don't see them getting out of the first weekend.
Yeah, and so my point is, I actually think they'll end up a 7 seed, and then
that would be big for them. That would be huge.
That would be good because it honestly sets them up for a better matchup. Maybe the second game.
The second part of the weekend.
I mean, and in 7s, 10s beat 7s a lot, but like they hold their own better than you think. I think it's more like I feel like it's one of them's like pretty bad. That one's a little rough. Obviously 9 beats 8, but it's almost like the 12-5 is more dangerous than almost a 10-7, if that makes sense. But like you said, I think all 4 of those 7 seeds are better than 6 seed Wisconsin.
For sure.
So
whether they are a better team overall, I don't know, but I just know that they're all playing much better.
Which is everything.
It's everything this time of year.
Yeah. So it's and the thing about it is, here you go. As well as those teams. Do those teams have identities?
I think that at one point Gonzaga did not.
But they've got it again.
They've got their swagger back.
Do you think St. Mary's has an identity?
Yeah.
And do you think Nevada has one? Those teams have identities.
Yeah.
So they know who they are and they believe in themselves. That's a lot.
Yeah. So Wisconsin's a name brand that.
But okay, so even on here you have Wisconsin, Indiana State. They will not beat Indiana State if that was the draw. That's a 6-11. They will lose to them. I watched Indiana State play. I don't think they beat them. Now, there are other 11 seed teams. If you go back and just see if this is the 6 seed, go look at the other 11s really quick if you want to help me out without me scrolling through the other stuff. Appreciate that, by the way. They have a St. John's, Virginia. Virginia won't win that game. They have no chance of beating St. John's.
None. I agree.
I don't think they beat South Florida. They're an 11. They're missing one more 11. Maybe it'd be a play-in or something like that. Probably is. They probably don't have what that is. It'd be a play-in game. Or maybe that's up there at the top. So there's 3. So there's 3 11s.
Villanova, New Mexico.
Okay. Well, and I actually don't think they beat either one of those 2 teams, to be honest with you. Villanova's like guard play, like more like they're playing really well. I heard New Mexico, they've got 3 good guards. I don't think New Mexico's going to get in. But the winner of that game would also beat Wisconsin. So
yeah,
they actually might be better served to be a 7 seed.
I would say so. That being
because I think, but once again, if they're a 7 and they beat a 10, you see Mississippi State. I think Wisconsin beats Mississippi State. Mississippi State's a defensive team. Wisconsin's not a great defensive team, but Wisconsin can beat you in a game in the 60s. I mean, they can actually score this year, but that team doesn't scare me. Colorado State, man, that might be a tough matchup for them.
Might be tough. TCU, I actually think.
Yeah,
the one point I love TCU.
I actually think Wisconsin would beat TCU.
I do too. At this point, I wouldn't have said that 3 weeks ago.
You know, so right now we're looking at,
like 3 weeks ago, Wisconsin was a 5 seed, 4 seed.
Exactly.
So yeah, I don't know.
Exactly. So I don't know. And I think TCU is, I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're certainly trending the. I don't know why he doesn't have a red down arrow here.
Yeah. Whatever, that's fine. So, and I think that's just Big 12 bias, to be honest with you. It's like, they get a lot of credit for beating one another up. But the problem is like you can go 1-2 in a 3-game span in the Big 12, and they give you credit for it.
Yeah,
that like every 3 games, and it's like, well, you beat 3 ranked teams, but you're 3-6.
Yep.
And then you didn't beat a team you should have beat a couple times, but then you also beat the teams that you should beat at home, right? Like, I don't see teams like that going on the road and winning against teams that are equal in the Big 12. Does that make sense? I've not seen a whole lot of that.
Certainly.
Like, I see a lot of those teams beat the teams that are like pretty good at their home, maybe, but you don't see that like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like Oklahoma almost beat Baylor at Baylor. If they flip and play that game at Baylor, Baylor wins that game like basically every time. And Oklahoma's a night, so that's kind of where I'm at with that. So they're all very good, but if you take away all that other stuff, like how good are they? And I think that's going to actually come to light in the NCAA tournament too. Yes. Oh, hey.
Stinking assholes.
Here comes Rofa. I can recreate that video. That would get some likes.
If we could find that video, that is in the treasure.
Put that on the channel.
Actually, that video, that VHS tape
has me jumping from the rafters too, I'm sure.
It does. Well, it had that, but it also that videotape, that one video, that VHS tape has
probably our basketball highlights on it.
It does. It has the ejection. It has the church league ejection.
It does not.
Yes, it does. That is all on one video. That might it could rival. It could rival the Fun Saver.
Yeah, I think it probably is better, actually, to be honest with you. If you just want straight, like, first of all, I was undercut and I got ejected for just not dying. It was pretty bad. It was a horseshit call. I was really pissed. Scotty don't know. I was really pissed. Really, really pissed. Because, I get animated when something's egregiously terrible as far as a call. That was bad. That was bad. And I was a little bit of a hothead here and there. I like to win. That team always beat us when we played. They had old man knees and elbows for days. We'd always lose, and I think that was like a close game. And because of my hot-headedness, sometimes I get pulled out of. I was in the starting lineup, but sometimes I get that quick, I get a quick dumb foul. I get a quick pull sometimes. And then when you're threatening to choke out like an elder of the church, because you're just trying to get a rebound and then you get undercut, so it's not as bad as it seems. You have to see it to believe it. But when I felt like endangered by getting undercut, and then I'm holding on to somebody's neck because I don't want to die. There was a little extra. It was a little extracurricular. I wasn't just that. There was a little more. I got caught trying to choke somebody by just not falling, and it was a bad look. But I don't know. I think that day the refs lost. I think that was ultimately. I mean, I got kicked out, but I got my words in, and not everybody gets kicked out of a church league game.
It's exciting.
Not for everyone. It's not for everyone. But yeah, if you have that in that, Wu-Tang, that's on the same thing as long in the raptor fall from, the roof of Adam, from the upper deck of Adam's house indoors onto his bed, breaking his bed.
Yeah, I think that we could.
There's that I don't know how the Fun Saver could beat it. One thing about the Fun Saver is we could like piece together like what possibly happened. It was probably like basically like without hookers and blow and methamphetamines, like very similar to like the Hangover story in Vegas, where it's like, how did the bed get under the roof? Like there was probably things that happened like that, but with just fishing, that like you just piece it together like, huh, I don't remember that. Huh, don't remember that. I remember trot fishing with dynamite sticks. I don't remember that. Weird. I don't know. So that Fun Saver would be epic, but I think that video, that camcorder, that thing, would be pretty teats.
Yeah, it's something.
I don't know where we were going with all this. You know, we were on some.
I don't know. Well, we can wrap up here shortly. I think the bracket talk is fascinating. I think
we don't know. It's all speculative.
It is, but I think that Sunday, fucking Monster Truck Rally, Sunday is a fucking huge day.
It is big.
Really rivaling last Saturday's lineup, just because we're getting to the end of the line here.
It's the last
conference tournaments, yeah, just all kind of perfect storm of awesome shit. Yeah. And I think that what I would like to do, if you are game, I'd like to on Sunday, recap the games, and obviously Purdue has a big one.
It's a good one.
I think that the bracket talk. I think we could go on for hours with the bracket talk. That's apparent tonight if we wanted to just sit here. But I think that it'll have a lot. I think we'd be wasting our time and everyone else's time because there's so many factors that come into play after this weekend's games, really. Tournament, conference championships, all that shit's going down. So I would love to get back in on Sunday if you are game. I know that it's possible we could have some other guests as well, and they could help contextualize some of these stories, Fun Savers videotapes, dropping from rafters.
Yes.
So
totes.
That's my vote. But if you want to sit here and shit on other teams, we can do that as well. But
so you want to have some like tournament preview talk and some recap?
I think so.